Well, hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Omni Garage After Hours. So today we have a Range Rover. This car is getting a full correction and a ceramic coating, but we just wanted to show you the DetailCo line of products, or their polishing products, about how we're going to tackle this hood. So we've got DetailCo End Game, which is their compound, and we've got the DetailCo polishing pad. So we've got wool pad, a blue pad, which is like a,
it's like a coarse foam pad.
Yeah, coarse foam pad, and then they have DetailCo finishing pad, which is a waffle weave pad. So these products were sent to us by the House of Rags free of charge. We as Omni Garage, we produce a podcast once a week for them, and we also have an affiliate link, which is Omni Garage, that will save you 10% at checkout. We do get a little bit of a commission if you do decide to use that link. So there's the disclosures for you.
So as Glenn said, the car that we're working on today is this Range Rover Velar, and we've been working around the car, but we thought we would leave the hood untouched so we could have a play with this Endgame compound. Now this is the first time that we've used Endgame. We have used the wool pad before from DetailCo, but we haven't used the microfiber, we haven't used either of the foam pads.
It's a coarse foam and a waffle weave foam.
So the condition of this car, we have been lucky enough to be able to one-step the majority of this car. There have been areas where we have needed to two-step, but in terms of the overall paint condition on here, hopefully you can kind of see through the lights that are shining there. We do have light scratching. We've got some scum, so it's water mineral etching, quite light on there.
And a lot of that etching is up around here. So you know when I suppose the windscreen washer fluid squirts out here, you know, if you don't use demineralized water, etc., you do get like a buildup of soap scum, and you do get a buildup of minerals, and you can see that all the way along there. So we'll be able to pull that out as well.
So we've had good luck with that one-step process going around the majority of the car. We're hoping we can do the same on the hood. However, keeping in mind the hood is one of those areas of the car that you want to have looking the absolute best, because it is visible pretty much every time you walk to and from the car. So
this polish is called End Game, basically because it's the only kind of polish that you need in the DetailCo line, and the reason for that is you can put a few drops on it. Well, it's pad dependent, and it's also amount of product dependent. So if you're going to use this on sort of your waffle weave pad and you put a few light drops on here, then you're going to be more like finishing it down, refining, and maybe a little bit of minor scratch removal. If you want to increase your cutting ability, then you either step it up in pad, or you add a little bit more product to the pad. And so super versatile product. Okay, so it means that you've got one product, a few pads, adjust the amount of compound, and you can basically tackle any kind of job.
Yeah, because typically what we do, we'd have two variables. The variable would be the compound that we're choosing, and also the pad. So this is simplified a little bit in essence, where you can just change out the pad rather than needing to change out both variables. So you should get to, I guess, a working solution a lot quicker and more efficiently, and need less products in your cabinet, hopefully.
And this product apparently doesn't have any fillers in it, so basically the finish that you get is the finish that you will be seeing, because it's not going to, you know, mask or fill in any of those scratches or any of those defects. So what we'll do is we'll just do the most, or the lightest version first, and then we'll step it up in aggressiveness, and we'll keep going up, and we're just going to show you how you would tackle a polishing job. We don't need to go too aggressive on here, but we'll show you in essence, so that maybe if you do have a real car that's really heavy scratched and needs an aggressive method, then that's what you use. But always start with the least aggressive method first.
So we're going to set this up on the hood and do our test spot using one pad here, another pad here, and another pad here. So we're going to do 3 different areas across the hood. You don't typically need to do 3 different areas when you're doing a test spot. You do one and go, hey look, I'm happy with that, or no, I need to go to something else. But given that we want to see the characteristics of this product and see how it performs using those 3 different pads, we'll do 3 separate spots here.
So before you start, you want to make sure that you shake up the polish really well. You want to make sure you mix up all the components of the polish so that it's all a nice blend. And then I've lightly primed the pad here. Put, you know, sprinkle a little bit of polish around here, and then I'm going to do a couple of little drops. And Glenn's really nicely labelled.
Well, we thought we'd better kind of stay organised here, so we're going to be working this area here, which is just a straight waffle towel.
And how many passes would you want me to do?
Oh, look, I think that we probably do about 4 passes.
4 passes?
Keep it pretty similar to our normal process that we'd follow.
2. 3. 4 passes. And so what we've got here is we've got a dampen rinseless towel. So this is, I got this from Ivan actually. But we're using DetailCo rinseless wash here, and I'm really enjoying using this actually as our wipe off. Typically we would use like a, you know, like a panel wipe or a polish remover. You know, it's basically alcohol related, but both Glenn and I are really enjoying using a rinse and dampen towel for our wipe off, and then come across with a buff.
I think the reason that damp towel is quite nice because it seems to lift away the polish residue rather than just wiping it around.
And especially when you get residue in like cracks and crevices and stuff like that, I think it helps you to remove that right there and then before it dries, eh?
Yep. So that's our waffle area. I mean, I'm having a look through the light there. As Glenn takes that towel away, you should be able to see we have pretty decent defect removal in there. We do have some light scratching in there.
I
some
see
of the
quite a
pitting
few.
you can see.
I do see the odd, you know, these are real fine line hairs ones. It's going to be really hard to see on camera.
Yeah, I mean, when you come into the area, it has not been corrected though. You can definitely see it has cleaned it up quite nicely. So I think we move to that next area, we do the foam. I think we're really going to be able to see the results of this is when we tear away this tape and you see that line intersecting where we have corrected and what's sitting under the tape.
So what's also really important here is it's also about what the customer's paid for, you know. So if the customer's paid for just a gloss enhancement, a real like an enhancement based polish, then this would be absolutely acceptable. That 4 passes on a nice finishing pad, you get a little bit of gloss, you get a little bit of enhancement, might remove the odd defect here and here, might take a little bit of soap scum, a little bit of and maybe a little bit of the light water spots off. And so if that's what they paid for, that's where you stop and you're happy with that, that's the agreement, and you would then go around the whole vehicle like that. This customer's paid for everything. So we will then step that up to the foam, and then we will then go to the wool, and we'll decide somewhere. Remember that there's only a little bit of clear coat on these vehicles, and so you've got to be really careful about how much clear coat you're taking off. You want to do the least aggressive, and also what's acceptable between you and the agreement you have with the customer. So we'll step it up and we'll keep moving along.
Just quickly showing you the waffle to the uncorrected foam area, which we're going to move into now.
Brown the pad, and I put 4 drops on there. Probably, I don't know, someone will tell me that they're not bigger than the last drops. I tried to make them bigger than the previous drops. So I think we've got a little bit more compound on here, and I think we've also got a little bit more of an aggressive pad. And so let's see if we get, well, the idea here is that we should get a little bit more cut. So 4 passes. So what I have noticed is that using a more of a coarser foam in here, you do get more sling, but this pad does glide really nicely across the surface of the car.
Yeah, well, it's more, yes, traditional compared to the standard Rupees pads that you'd have. And I mean, that Rupees coarse pad throws polish everywhere.
Well, it's just such an open cell. I think the cells become more open, and so there's your results.
I mean, on inspection there, I think to me that foam requires additional passes in order to correct out those scratches. Hopefully that's replicating on camera. There's still additional scratches in there, so I think it's either you need to work with additional passes, maybe add some additional compound in there. I've never been a big fan of using a foam cutting pad though.
No, neither have I.
Microfiber or wool have always been the go-tos, and the foam has been used for finishing down. So let's throw on the wool pad and do the section to the right.
So here we've got our wall pad, primed, decent sized drops on there. Let's see what we get on this section over here. That's a lot of polish. And a hair of a mess. And so I hope that made everyone laugh, but that's what happens when you use a brand new wall pad for the first time. All the loose fibers get stuck in there with all the compound and it flings it everywhere. But as we sort of work with that pad, that will become less and less and less. And that's the downside of using a wall pad. It just makes a hair of a mess. And as you can see, we've got fibers everywhere.
So here's the results we've got from the wall. So definitely did a good job on the defect removal in there. If you pull it across to the side where we just did that coarse foam, you can see more scratches on this side here versus the wool, which seemed to pull out the majority of them there. One thing we did notice with the wool is it's slightly a hazier finish. So it's something that you'll definitely want to then come in and finish down using probably that waffle towel. I think just the nature of using microfiber or wool is that you do get a slightly hazier finish. You get some more ticks in it as well. But I mean, the wool by itself has done a pretty good job of those 4 passes in the actual defect removal.
And something to remind yourself of is that different paints will have a different result based on what you get here. So don't take this away and go, oh, well, they did this and they got a really good finish, but your paint might react a little bit differently. And so I guess by doing a test spot like this, you're sort of working out where am I happy and where am I going to stop. So I think the waffle weave did a really good enhancement, did a really good job of pulling out some light scratches and some light defects. If I was going to go all the way, I wouldn't really do the foam. Maybe the foam needs a couple more passes, maybe the foam needs a little bit more compound put on it, some additional stuff there to get that to the level of what the wool did. But the wool has done a really good job of pulling out a lot of those scratches and defects, but then you're going to have to deal with maybe a little bit more sling. Maybe you're going to have to deal with having to finish that down because it is a little bit hazy. So there's pros and cons of each method, and the whole point of doing a test spot is for you to decide what's going to work best on my paint and at what point am I happy at calling it a day there and then moving on. I put the waffle pad back on and I'm going to finish this down and I'll show you kind of what an end result would look like.
So 4 passes across the whole 3 sections here, and then we can show you the finish. Done the 4 passes there, we'll peel off that tape.
I'm going to have a nice big tape line I'm going to have to try and polish out now.
That's all right. Give us a, hopefully a representation of how we've done.
This polish actually smells really nice.
It does.
It's got a nice sort of, Eddie will tell me I'm wrong, but it's like a citrus type smell, like a lemon scent to it. Which is pleasant because, man, when you're polishing for 10 hours, a nice scent does make all the difference, I think, especially when you're having to smell it.
So if you're able to see all of the defects that we had in the paint toward the top here, this is where particularly you're getting all of that scum showing. A lot of that scum is the mineral deposits on the paint. And then if you come down here, you can see it intersect the tape line that we had there. And then we've obviously got the end result that we've got all across the panel here. So it has cleaned up quite nicely. Keep pulling it across here. I think defect removal, we got a pretty reasonable result from all combos that we did there. I think that probably the best result we got was the wool, which is not unexpected given that's the most aggressive compound. And then I actually think the waffle pad did reasonably well on its own. Keep in mind here we did 4 passes for the cutting stage, and then we came in again and did additional 4 passes to finish them down to get the end result that we're looking at there. That's typically how we go about doing a test spot.
And so the versatility of this product, so if you're not happy with these results, you could do more passes. You could add more compound. You could maybe switch the combo up of the pad that you're using. You could add maybe a little bit more pressure. You could work it a bit longer. So there is multiple variables, which is nice because you're only having to buy 1 bottle of compound and you can do all the tricks with it. You're not having to buy 47 different compounds that are, you know, a really high cut and then a one that finishes down really nicely. And so the versatility of that compound with the 3 pads that they provide is really makes it a versatile product for you to use. So that's it from Omni Garage. We'll see you next week on another video.